All right, and then the scientist turns himself into a pickle, and I swear to God, it's the funniest. Oh, hello. See you all there. Welcome to Link to the Past League Season 2, Week 4, Mystery Seed. My name is Virtua here, and I want all you Kakariko's Village sweat hogs to take a look at what a real commentator looks like. It's a rooster.
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today?
We are doing well. We are here for a match in the Lake Hylia division between the Immortals, who are at 12 points. They got Roach788 representing them, and Two Pearl Two Furious is represented by Trinexx. They have 15 points so far. This is a mystery seed, so we don't know too much about the seed. We do know that it is going to have some version of Randomizer. We can see the Randomizer version number down there at the bottom, and it looks like we are going to have Sword Assured.
Yeah, and one other thing, just a bit of background on these teams. So the Immortals are said 12 points. We'll get started. I'll give a bit more background in a second.
Well, looks like it's open mode at least.
And a very nice fire bar start there. We'll note that when they pulled up the menu on Roach's side, if you didn't, you notice there was no crystals, no pendants. That means it is at least map compass shuffle.
Yeah, this is already looking to be a fun one. It looks to be got Randomizer in there. We got at least a map compass shuffle. Both teams getting some bombs pretty early. That's great off that tree pole. Oh, and it is Key Sanity.
Oh boy, strap in, people. We're here for a good one.
So anybody who has not watched one of these randomizers before, you have picked a heck of a week to start watching this. This is Link to the Past. Generally, most things are going to be in the position where you remember them, but with a few exceptions. We actually don't know what our goal is today. We don't know if it's going to be just a pedestal, if we need to clear all bosses, if it is just a kill Ganon seed. But we have mixed up a lot of the items, a lot of locations. The game is 100% completable. We may not be able to access every single item. We will know what the goal is probably in maybe about 20-ish minutes. They need to check a sign outside the pyramid to do so. But the big fun in this is watching how our racers are going to route everything. We got Trinexx already going down into the castle escape. It's going to be able to get a decent amount of stuff down here. And Roach is going up checking this tree pole. He's probably going to check the lumberjack hut.
Yeah, and one interesting thing to note, especially this early in the seed, was that they only have 3 hearts, and with the Randomizer, a lot of these enemies do quite a bit of damage. If you notice, right when Roach was leaving the Uncle area, he took 2 hearts of damage and was already 1 hit from dying just from one touch.
Yeah, these enemies are going to be doing their normal damage. So, hey, if we find Lionels in Eastern Palace, they're not going to be doing like 1 heart. They're going to be basically murdering you pretty early. And the usually green Igors in Castle Escape is not fun here. Roach just finding a big 20 at the mushroom spot. See what finds in here at the Thief Drop.
One other thing to note that we don't yet know is that it can also be, for those of you who are familiar with the Randomizer at all, it can be a reduced item pool. So rather than having 20 hearts and red mail and silvers available like you'd have in the normal game, it's still possible they don't have a lot of those things and they have to do it with even less material than usual.
Yeah, that could be in hard mode or expert mode. Generally, we are going to be seeing normal mode, but everything is kind of weighted in this. See what Trinexx gets here in Zelda Cell, and that is the gloves. That is a big get right there. That's going to be 1/3 of our way to Dark World. That one is required to get to Dark World, at least 1 glove up. Roach is showing us the bottom of the thief hideout. Finds a map of Hyrule Castle and the other glove upgrade. So yeah, we know where Titan Smiths are going to be now. A small key to Hyrule Castle. That is going to allow us to get at least 1 or 2 chests in there. Oh, and that is a heck of a back of escape there. That is gross.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, since Trinexx did not have that key, whatever is in Dark Cross is going to be kind of isolated for him.
But that is a great back of escape in terms of items. That was the lamp, which is going to give us a light cone in dark rooms. Also going to give us a fire source to light torches, say in like Desert Palace. But also finding the Moon Pearl, one of those items that is required every single game, no matter what.
Yeah, so basically between our two runners, they will have Dark World access, at least Trinexx will, at about 6 minutes or so, once he gets over to Kakariko here.
Ether and a key of the Palace of Darkness. We're going to have a lot of those showing up here. There's, what, 6 keys? 6 small keys in chest? 5 in chest and pod?
Yep, there are 6, though. With runners of this caliber, you can see based on the score, they might be able to skip a couple of them, because depending on how you route it, you can sometimes skip one, and then you can also potentially avoid another if you do some interesting mirroring or hammer yump, which we'll explain if and when that comes into play.
Yeah, we're bound to see some interesting tech here. We are running on the Japanese 1.0.0 version of this game. That is what is required to play at the randomizer. You can play it yourself. Go to ALTTPR.com. Everything you need will be there. There are some things you need to supply yourself, but join in the fun. It's a fun game, and I really recommend everybody check it out.
Roach about to give us a check of the library, just some money up there. Definitely not something you come back for.
Reading is fundamental, but the library is closed today, and Roach is going to do a blind check of the race game.
In a mode like Key Sanity, I think that makes a lot of sense, because there's a much better chance that that you might need something like a key rather than, if it's just normal, where you can often find rupees or like that rupee. Guess it doesn't pay off that much today.
He's going to go ahead and grab it. He is pretty low on rupees here. He didn't grab the 300 that Trinexx has grabbed. Roach has only got 4.
So to answer a question in chat, the reason why it's based on the 1.0 Japanese ROM is because there's a bunch of 1.0 specific glitches, like you can fake that you have flippers and be able to swim without them, a couple things like that just aren't possible on some of the later releases.
I am by no means an expert at the knowledge of this game, but we will try to point out some of that stuff when we come across it. There are ways to swim without flippers. There are ways to clip through smaller walls. There's a lot of really neat tech that this game has that is specific to only this dungeon, or only this version. When speaking of dungeons, Roach is going in. See what he'll have to kill for a key here, and it's just a Larvitar. Liv Tyler.
Yes, and one thing which Trinexx is showing, freeing the chicken in Chicken Hut. The people's hero right there. Thank you, Trinexx. But what I was going to say is Chicken Hut this time is still chickens. In Randomizer, you can often end up with something like a ton of guards there, and it can just be a miserable room to get through.
Didn't really look like much of anything there in the back of Escape.
Yeah, the Dark Cross there that Roach was able to get that Trinexx did not look like it paid off much, so that's pretty good for Trinexx, because that location is sort of isolated for him right now.
Roach is going to give us our first look at South Shore here. We're going to have 2 items here at the dam. We're also going to be able to go into Mini Moldworm Cave that has 5 items in it. And if Roach so chooses, he is going to go over to small key to get GT. We're going to need a couple of those. We're really looking for that big key, though. Actually, we may not need that. We don't know what the goal of this game is quite yet.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't familiar with mystery seeds, the league weights include a chance for fast Ganon, which allows you to skip Aghanim 2, so you can skip the entire Ganon's Tower. It includes a chance, perhaps, that Ganon's Tower actually can be accessed before Ganon, so, you know, you could get there and there could still be some items that you need to finish off the crystals for Ganon. Or it could be all dungeons, which means you have to do Aga 2, Ganon's Tower, and Aga 1, and all the normal dungeons, so...
Yeah, we have had just a complete range. Oh, there's a bottle on the desert ledge. A huge just range of different seeds that we've seen come out of this mystery seed. Yesterday we saw Kyong and Amarith play a 18-minute go mode for Crystal Ganon. That they had access to all 4 crystal dungeons pretty much within 15 minutes. And then earlier today, it was Death Knight, and I can't remember who else it was, but they had a seed that was just absolutely miserable to watch, and even more so probably to play. That's mystery seeds, basically. Both of our racers deciding to go over to Desert first. Just getting a small key to Ice Palace for the trouble. That is going to be nice.
Yeah, just to catch up, if anybody joined us late, so this is a race between Roach788, representing the Immortals, and Trinexx, representing 2 Purple, 2 Furious. Both of these teams are near the top of their division. I believe there's one team, if Trinexx wins, they'll be tied for first, and if Roach wins, the Immortals will be tied for second. So 2 of our definitely our better runners and our better teams here. So this is a mystery seed, as it's noted, which, as you can see, can be all sorts of weird settings, and we'll talk about those as it goes along.
Oh, Trinexx taking a death in the mini Moldorm cave. Those little invisible, well, they're not invisible, but they're invisible until they come out of their holes, basically. Those were the mini Moldorm replacements in this mini Moldorm cave, and he just kind of walks directly into one while still invisible.
To answer a question in chat, the second glove is in back of Escape, and I think it's actually, we'll see next time Roach opens the menu. I think Roach actually has that, and it's just that it got eaten by the tracker somewhere.
I don't think Roach has gone down into Escape. It was in Zelda's chest.
Oh, I was confusing the front and back of Escape.
Trinexx now
yes.
realizing why he died. Ooh, Blue Cane in Ice Rod Cave. Blue Cane is a top tier item in Randomizer. There are going to be some rooms that have enemies that you do not want to deal with Fighter Sword and 4 Hearts, and Cannon Burner makes those trivial. Lionels, Hinoxes, Cannon Burner will wreck them, but you still need to protect yourself.
So it looks like Roach here is going up to probably check Death Mountain, which is an interesting divergence. Trinexx with those 2 gloves in Pearl. We'll see, maybe Trinexx, after finishing off Ice Rod Cave, will do something. I mean, at that point, with Dark World access, could go all the way up to Dark World through north of Kakariko, or could follow up with this Death Mountain play.
So both of our racers do have the lamp. That's why we're seeing a light cone here in the Old Man Cave. If they did not have the lamp, Roach would not be able to see in there. Oh, another GT small key. Trinexx does save and quit out of Ice Palace, and Roach is going to make the climb up to... Oh, no, never mind.
Not getting very far. But on the plus side, since Roach didn't go very far up Death Mountain, there is that save and quit point, and you can talk to the old man for an immediate heal.
Top of Spectacle Rock only has 5 rupees. Inside of Spectacle Rock is a heart piece. That's as far as Roach is able to go up the mountain at this point. Trinexx gives us our first look at Dark World and is going into Skull Woods. He immediately takes a hit from a mouse. Still with just like 5 hearts, you don't want to be really hit much by anything. Using iframes to get past stuff is not the ideal here right now. Roach is going into Hyrule Castle, which is nice. Ooh, okay. Good game knowledge on Trinexx there. Getting that big spike to move to the side first before he goes up and gets that small key. Otherwise, he would have been pinned there.
Yeah, and also makes good use of just waiting to get that Wall Master out of the way. One of the interesting things that you see a lot here in Randomizer is Wall Masters can be where you don't expect them. There is one in that room normally in Skull Woods, but they can be pretty much anywhere, and there's some areas, like an Ice Palace, where they can show up even when you're trying to lift a rock, and there's nothing you can do if you've already got the rock in your hand.
Trinexx showing us the back of that Skull Woods room where he got the shovel. I think that's one of the few rooms where the enemy locations in it are actually random, because I heard that they start moving around while you're actually in the bottom room. Now, the front of Skull Woods here, Trinexx is not able to make it to the back until he finds a fire rod. There's a piece of heart there. We are going to be seeing a different amount of items that are available in these dungeons. We may not find only 2 items in Skull Woods. Those keys are super important. And there's a big key, and we did not get a text box. That is the big key to Skull Woods, meaning our big keys are not... they're randomized within the dungeon, but you're not going to find the Swamp Palace big key in the overworld, for example. Arista gets their... You're Arista. Roach gets their Dark World access and is out of the Sanctuary and on their way to Dark World.
Yeah, and just to point out in chat, someone's asking about there's no text box when Trinexx picked up that big key, and that does mean it's not full key sanity, because even though you can find the key in its vanilla dungeon, what you'd get if it was key sanity is a message saying this is the big key to this dungeon.
Trinexx taking an intentional death there. I don't know if he wanted to take it there or like actually leave and then take it, but he is going to have to make his way back out. Roach just following up Trinexx here. Going to be making a lot of the same checks. And we still don't know if bosses are going to be randomized as well. As of right now, all we know is it's just regular randomizer. Ooh, blue mail, that's nice. Um, Bosses could be randomized. We may see a standard shuffle where we'll see Armos twice, we'll see Lammo twice, we'll see Moldworm twice. We may see a full Chaos shuffle where we might see Vitreous like 5 times. Who knows? And blue mail means that this is normal mode.
Yeah, which an interesting consequence of the fact we still don't know if it's boss shuffle is. We'll find out pretty quickly if Trinexx decides to play this out, but it's possible if it's boss shuffle that he's coming in here and can't actually finish this dungeon.
Yeah, if it's boss shuffle, if there's a non-blind boss in the boss room, then we won't have to take a maiden down to the boss room. Oh, and there's the map of Thieves Town. If we were in the overworld, that tells us if this was a pendant or a crystal. If you are listening, you might hear the pendant or crystal dungeon music. Pendants usually start off with like the organ. Crystal dungeons usually starts off with what sounds like a viola. Those are also randomized in this, so we're not going to be able to tell just by the music that's playing.
Yeah, and Trinexx being very careful there, sort of dodging back and forth, because at this point, of course, one hit kills him.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really rough enemies in this area right now. You had a lot of enemies like the jumping frogs that will move around pretty randomly. The mini moldworms as well. The mini helmosaurs, which hey, you can't attack them from the front. Ooh, and there's the bow and Trinexx. Good game knowledge, taking one hit there just to get over, and he finds the book as well.
So it looks like Trinexx is going to go to the back here. So one thing to note in Randomizer, if it's a boss shuffle, which Chad has pointed out, but if it's a boss shuffle, the boss will already be there. So a common play will be to just go straight to the boss room and then kill it and then decide from there if you want to do the back side. So we'll see in just a sec whether there's something already in there or not. And that'll tell us if it's boss shuffle.
And it is boss. No boss shuffle. Trinexx going ahead and taking a death. Going to go back and just leave Thieves Town, it looks like. There's a map of desert. Bumper Cave only has a piece of heart attached to it. Not really going to make the trek up there just for that. Trinexx is going to make their way down to the digging gate.
Yeah, and one little piece of tech here that you noticed. See, Trinexx is doing dig game. One thing to note is that you can't do dig game if you have a follower. So it's possible Trinexx might, after this, go back and pick up the Smith Frog for later, but you have to do the dig game first if you're planning on doing both in the same loop.
23 minutes in and 23 digs for 50 rupees. Trinexx leaves it laying there. And he is going to pick up Jeremiah the Bullfrog here. Going to make a little loop of South Dark World. Probably end up over at Hype Cave. And then we'll probably, unless he finds something like the hammer, which at that point he'll be able to check what the goal is today.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that Trinexx does have that shovel, but has not checked it, so after finishing off this hype cave loop, if you save and quit and go back to Link's house, you can pick up the shovel, because in this mode, in Randomizer, the smith does follow you through a save and quit, so you can save and quit back to Light World, do Link's house, check the shovel, and then drop him off.
We're going to find out that the Eastern Palace and Desert Palace are 5-6 crystals today. Those are required to get the big bomb to open the Pyramid Fairy. Everybody get your guesses in on Hype Cave's hypeness today.
3 out of 10, that's my guess.
Items. A Bombos is guaranteeing that at least. We also got 20 rupees, 3 bombs, 10 arrows, and another 20 rupees. I think the new Hype Cave is Paradox Cave. I feel like there's always something up there anymore.
Yeah, and for those of you who aren't familiar, the reason it's called Hype Cave is because in some of the earlier versions of Randomizer, there was a weird glitch in the fill algorithm such that it would all... Ooh, Trinexx looks like setting up for a fake flipper here. Splashed.
Oh no! Trinexx, no! Oh no. He was going to loop around, and he does it again.
Oh, I felt like that second one was... almost looked like it was intentional, but... So for those of you who aren't familiar with... Oh, wow. Very nicely done. For those of you who aren't familiar with what Trinexx just did twice, it's a glitch called Splash Delete, which I believe is also Japanese 1.0 exclusive. Basically, the game only checks for flippers based on the little splash animation when you jump in without flippers. So if you overload the slots by doing some other actions, like you saw he was firing arrows and dropping bombs, the game just doesn't show that animation, and you don't find out. Like, it doesn't realize that you should be... Hey, you're not swimming.
And everybody get your guesses in on what the goal is today. We're going to see either how many crystals we need to get to damage Ganon, or if we're going to do pedestal or all dungeons. And only 5 crystals to beat Ganon and his fast Ganon. The hole is already there. We are... Who knows how to guesstimate how fast the seed is going to be. We don't necessarily have a ton of items quite yet. We do have a crystal at Swamp. We also know that there's crystals at Desert Palace and Eastern Palace, but we may not even be able to access most of Desert if, like, say, the big key is on Torch.
And I'd just like to point out, so this happened a few seconds ago while we were talking about the information there, but on Roach's side, if you saw, he jumped south with the bomb in his hand, and then the bomb exploded and ended up having fake flippers. That is called a Kern jump, named after one of the well-known runners of this game, Kern, Q-U-I-R-N. And so basically that serves the same purpose as what Trinexx did with the bow and bombs. It tricks the game into thinking you have flippers.
So I always make it a point when I do commentary to really stress like how great this community is, how easy it is to become a part of this community, how everybody is super nice. Kern was the first person who, when I started playing the game, like kind of reached out to me. I was doing a seed that I haven't played Link to the Past in years. Kern jumped out, walked me through what I was doing. Absolutely amazing dude. One of the best people in this community.
Yeah, I mean, I'd actually second that. One of the things that Kern has helped me out with recently is he's got a little thing called office hours where he actually invites people like newbies to come in and just ask him questions, and He'll walk you through things or review your VOD for you, things like that. So if you're new to the game, I definitely encourage you on taking that up because it's a really cool idea. Meanwhile, Trinexx, having taken Jeremiah pretty much around the entire universe at this point, is about ready to drop him off. Roach about to find out the good news about the rest of the seed.
Roach double thinking grabbing that map. I was about to say, and no, instead he just goes on without it.
Roach might be thinking doing a dip into pod here. I believe he's gotten one key from pod, if I am reading the tracker right, which allows you to at least do something in pod. And the nice thing is that there's a lot of checks in there.
Yeah, pod is one of the more item-dense areas of the game. Pod, Swamp Palace, Light World, Death Mountain, Dark World, Death Mountain. Pod is a, oh my gosh, pterodactyl there. Not a cool place to have.
And that mini Helmosaur just really being brutal, just refusing to move there.
Like, you never realize like how well designed the enemy placement in the vanilla game is until you put like what is normally an easy enemy at any other time, like a mini Moldworm, just in a small little area, and it just messes with you, and oh, it's the worst.
Meanwhile, Trinexx showing off that Ice Palace is the green pendant. It's one of the things if you're playing an... Ooh, Fire Rod, nice to see. If you're playing an Randomizer seed yourself, is good to know that if you talk to Sahasrahla, he'll tell you where the green pendant is, and if you talk with the guy in the bomb shop, he'll tell you where the 2 red crystals are. So if you're doing something like this where you can't just check the map, it can be very useful to do that and just know what's what.
One thing that was brought up in chat that is really, really handy to know about Randomizer is that enemies that require specific things to kill, such as the red Igors or the red Mimics, needing the bow, those will not show up in the rooms that they were originally in. The only place that is technically bow locked in an Randomizer is Helmosaur, when you need to shoot the bow at the Igor statue.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that also applies to enemies that drop keys. So if you need to kill an enemy to get, say, a small key, that will also never be an enemy that you can't kill with whatever you've got.
Yeah, generally they're going to be something that is like weak to a sword or weak to an available weapon. Both Pod and East are not giving too much right now. Small key to desert, that's nice.
Yeah, and Roach setting up to do a death warp there because without hammer you can't just go down the easy way, and this way, well, looks like, yeah, with his 1 key he'll go up through the center, and that'll get him at least a couple checks as well. A couple more checks. One other thing which our tracker, Revolving Ocelot, shoutouts to our tracker who's doing an excellent job, points out in chat is that apparently Trinexx has mismarked the green pendant on his displayed tracker. He's mismarked that as Misery Mire rather than as the one that it actually is. So that could be a problem for him.
Yeah, Pod is not really giving us too much right now. Gotta find some more keys somewhere. Eastern may be the play right now. There's also Desert, which is available with that key in Pod. Oh, you do not want to see a Lionel in any of these rooms early.
Especially not one that's in the dark. So just to, since we're about 30 minutes in, to give everybody a quick brief overcap, My name is Arusta. I'm joined on commentators by Virtua Cat. Our tracker is Revolving Ocelot. Our runners here are Roach788 of the Immortals and Trinexx of Two Pearl, Two Furious. Definitely give them a follow. Both are pretty good guys. It is a mystery seed. What we know thus far, it is Assured Sword. It is normal item pool. We have 5 crystal, fast Ganon. So you don't necessarily need to do Ganon's Tower, though it's possible with 5 crystals that Ganon's Tower, we don't know what it takes to open Ganon's Tower, so it's possible there's an item there that's needed to actually complete your 5 crystals. And it's Randomizers. You can see everybody bouncing around. Just Randomizer, not boss shuffle, though.
Randomizer is like really cool and really fun. You always like. I feel like every time that I play it, it starts out as like, "Oh, LOL, there's a spike trap outside Link's house. That's hilarious." And then you come across like the last room in Eastern being full of Hydoxes and Lionels.
Yeah, or a little deeper in the pod that we've seen. That little collapsing bridge across from the big chest can be miserable in Randomizer because it's narrow enough that basically anything can block you. You can have rollers, big spikes, anti-fairies, anything that kind of makes it miserable.
Speaking of things that make things miserable, Gibdos, the little flying mushroom dude, a mimic, and a wallmaster all in one room.
Yeah, Trinexx is earning that small key there.
I think Trinexx was just kind of curious as to what that other enemy was going to be for a brief moment. So yeah, as you can see, no red mimic or red Igor in this room. Oof.
Oh wow, this is a rough room.
This is a perfect room for Canterburna. Canterburna will always move anything that you damage with it up, aside from bosses. You can just push everything directly into the top of the T shape there, and just wreck everything with Canterburna as long as it takes damage. Trinexx is setting up a pretty good, a very good quick kill on that Armos there. He's able to get that last arrow in before the last Armos turns into Angry Armos. That is the canon term. Going ahead and killing it without having to pump it full of 3 more arrows. Gets crystal number 1 of 5 as well for his trouble.
Yeah, so at 37 minutes, Trinexx is on the board with their first crystal. Roach, presuming he runs out this play, is also going to get one, probably another 3-4 minutes.
So where do you go now? Desert seems to be the in-logic play. There, you do have a key to ice right now. I don't know if you would go there right now or not, but
I think the other thing that's worth noting is there is the shovel that I don't believe either runner has checked, and they got that pretty early. That may or may not mean something, but one of the ways the fill algorithm works is that items that are placed early tend to sometimes block more than items that you get later, but you know, that's not at all reliable. But before I made a play to ice, that might be something you might take the time to just check out.
Also note there is a bottle over here on the desert ledge, which is going to be available with that book. That can give us an item from Sick Kit.
Yeah, and one thing to note for those of you who joined late or missed it a little bit ago, Trinexx does not have the small key to Desert Palace here. With the glove, he can steal the small key if he needs to, from the back under the pot. But it is worth knowing that if Roach comes here, Roach will be able to potentially clear more because it'll have the small key.
That was a very Three Stooges-like chest grab there. And, oh, that was an invisible line. And there's the mirror on the pedestal, on the torch there. That is, gotta have boots to get that.
It is worth noting, however, that with 5 Crystal Fast Ganon, they don't necessarily need the mirror. It's possible that Swamp Palace is one they don't need to do. And, ooh, a bit of an unfortunate death there by Trinexx. Was definitely trying to at least get to the exit before dying there. At 39.44, Roach is on the board with his first crystal. So at this point, it's definitely anybody's game. Roach was a little behind getting the first crystal, but Roach has also gotten a small key from Desert. So Roach can actually right now go over and clear Desert if he wants to and get a second crystal, whereas Trinexx might have to double dip this if he ends up wanting the crystal from Desert.
Looks like he is going to go ahead and steal the key from the back to get those items on the right side.
And it is worth noting for on Roach's side is that if he goes to Desert, since he can clear it, that is actually a second red crystal. So that opens up the bomb shop and the Pyramid Fairy.
Oh, I did not think about that. That is, that's nice.
Which is probably why Trinexx didn't steal the key and instead just going, ooh, flippers, that's a big thing to get. And it's instead why Trinexx is going to kill the boss here.
For an enemy that does absolutely 0 damage, the thieves are probably one of the most annoying enemies in the game.
Yeah, and actually in this Randomizer setting, it's actually fairly generous with the damage because the damage is all vanilla, whereas in some of the other Randomizer settings, not available in the League, but in the ALTTPR Randomizer settings, they can actually do damage. And in those cases, they can be absolutely mean to deal with.
There's crystal number 2. That is red crystal number 2.
Roach coming in with the key gets to see the interesting thing that you don't normally see in Randomizer, taking that southern entrance into this area. Normally you go around north to get the 2 chests first, but since he's already got the key, it makes sense to do it like this. It's just one of those tiny optimizations that really makes a top-tier runner a top-tier runner.
Oh, and Trinexx probably should have stolen that key because Roach gets the hook shot out of the back of Desert.
Ooh, and that's, if you're a fan of Trinexx, that's definitely not a good thing because Trinexx's, that extra key is in the front of Pod, which with only 1 key, you can only check, I believe, 4 or 5 chests up there. And so it might be a while before Trinexx decides to go get that small key, and then especially longer before he goes back to get his right side Desert.
And not only that, another pod key was on the right side of Desert as well. Sick kid, just 20 rupees. Roach making good use of the Canterburna. Getting away from that Lionel.
Yeah, if you saw him try to slash the Lionel, unfortunately with just Fighter Sword, the Lionels do not take damage from just slashes, so taking the defensive there makes the smartest sense there.
Trinexx is going to go back and kill Mothula. That's going to give him 3 crystals. That is 60% of the way. We're still missing a vital piece of killing Ganon, though. We need to
Yeah,
find a
second sword
upgrade.
would be nice.
Ganon does not take damage from the Fighter Sword. You can't stun him. You can't move him out of any kind of phases. You have to have the Master Sword at minimum to do that. And even then, the Master Sword only does it with spins. Trinexx is going to make good use of those flippers that he got from the shovel. It's going to go check out the Lake Holly Island, which is just a big heart piece, or a big heart. I'm going to go check out the fugitive under here under the bridge, see what he's got for us.
Yeah, and that's nice to see that it's... Oh, now there's a nice pig using the water walk glitch. Good for him, knowing his glitch knowledge there. It is good that Lake Holly Island is dead, because that mirror, who knows when they'll get it, because they both know where it is, but it is kind of out of the way in Boots Lock Desert.
Yeah, there's only, what, 2 items in the game that require a mirror that you can see. There's a bunch of items that require it, but there's only 2 that you can actively see. That is Lake Hylia and... oh god, I cannot remember the other one.
The floating island up on East Desert Mountain, or East Death Mountain.
Oh, yep. And that makes it to like where we is only a 50% chance that we'll need that for a one of those that we can see.
Meanwhile,
I had a
picks
thought
up his
there.
second crystal. What are you thinking?
No, I had a thought with the mirror that it just got away from me in the middle of all that. It's Zora time.
Meanwhile, with that hook shot, Roach is going to be able to go up here and clear all of Light Death Mountain, or all of East Light Death Mountain, and then can then, with those mitts, do the Dark Death Mountain checks as well.
Zora is still a bit of a ripoff, but I mean, not as much as normal.
Still making his 40% profit, though. Nice business model.
Oh, and there's the other castle tower big key. Not big key, small key. Which, I mean, we could have something in there. There are 2 chests in there.
Yeah, we have seen a lumberjack check, and both runners do have flippers and East Dark World access, so you won't need to do it just for Kill Aga, but it's possible there could be something in there. Roach pulling off a very nice bomb jump there. Save a few seconds in Paradox Cave. So one thing to note here is that this is Trinexx's first run up the mountain, and since he's got everything he'll be able to do, rather than Roach, who took a separate jog up here just for the Spectacle Rock, Trinexx will be able to at least do this west start in one toe. Though since Trinexx doesn't have the hook shot, if there's anything here on East Death Mountain, it could be bad for him.
And nothing so far. Just the one key to Castle Tower.
Yeah, we've still got 2 more checks in Super Bunny Cave and then 4 checks in the Hookshot Cave, but thus far, it's not a big deal thus far. There was a pod key and there was a key to the Castle Tower key, which is also kind of bad for Trinexx, because right now we know there are 2 other pod keys that he cannot access. If part of his decision to put off pod is because he doesn't want to go there with only 1 key, that puts him further and further away from getting that small key that leads to Hookshot.
I think Trinexx is making the purple chest play? Or no, he's going to go ahead and finish Thieves Town? While Roach just found the other small key in Hookshot Cave. Dark Death Mountain, not really much aside from a couple keys. That's all of Death Mountain, really. The only other places to check are like Spike Cave, which we can't get into without the hammer. Tablets, which we can't access. We can read them, but we can't access without.
Yeah, at this point, we need hammer or mirror to get to Tower of Hera and the tablet.
Sorry, that conveyor belt room was making me throw up from anger. Oops, all Hinoxes.
Did we see a check from Roach of what the Ganon's Tower entry was?
We did
I don't
not.
think we did. Because I believe the league settings go all the way down to 3 or 4 crystals for entry, so it's possible that there could be something there that you need in order to finish your 5th crystal.
So we could see a 3 or a 4 crystal GT with required items being in GT to get our 5th crystal.
Yeah, with the crystals we have remaining, One thing, chat doing a good job of tracking this. Shout out to Ziff Fluber. You need either the boots plus the mirror in order to do Swamp Palace. Kane could lock Mire and Turtle Rock. And then, of course, we need Hammer for pods. So we still have a few more items before we could even get where we need to get.
Good blind fight so far by Trinexx. I know Trinexx would be upset by me calling him a runner of this caliber, but he is good, and that's a picture-perfect blind fight. Trinexx going ahead and grabbing the purple chest. So Trinexx does have a blue pendant now. That's not going to do much by itself. He will need the two others, which are going to be an Ice Palace and Tower of Hera. Neither of which he can fully clear right now. You may be able to clear Ice Palace by doing... oh, Trinexx... oh, he can't take the bomb unless he does some funky flippering. But no, he can. But he's going to go to pod first, I believe.
That is good for Trinexx, because that means we know that that first small pod key leads to the potential to clear the eastern side of desert for hookshot, which leads to more pod small keys and a bunch of other keys that you might need.
Roach, once again, doing one of the same little tricks that Trinexx does. Does show like just the game knowledge there, making sure to kill or to get that little spike trap out of the way before going for that key under the skull pot. So this just goes to show like what certain rooms are able to be are easier and harder in Randomizer. Like this room is much harder in Randomizer. This room normally not terribly too hard, but going to be a little bit easier in Randomizer.
I like the decision by Roach there to go up and just check that room beforehand. Just make sure there's nothing too nasty waiting for him up top that might delay him from getting the torches lit and through the door before it closes.
I'm seeing a lot of red guards here today. No, this is not Hammerfell, but this is Link to the Past. Roach, once again, waiting until that Wallmaster drops. That Wallmaster can pull you out of that hole. That is one of the worst things that can happen to you in the game, in just a very silly way. And looks like our spike traps are bush crabs today.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that Wallmaster grabbing you is specific to this version. It is not in later versions of the game. This is one of the glitches that's actually fixed that is not positive for the player. So that is a third crystal for Roach.
So Roach is currently 2 crystals and a sword upgrade away from Ganon. But man, to get those crystals, we're going to need. Gotta have a mirror, a hammer, because hammer you gotta have to clear Ice Palace. Gotta have that to clear Pod. Gotta have that to clear Swamp. Have that to even get into TR. Oh gosh. Misery Mire, you need a flute. There's in mirror is boots locked, so you gotta have boots to get mirror. Just a not fun item assortment that they have right now.
Yeah, and that's not even getting into the small keys and big keys, which, for example, if you have Pod, you're going to need at least 1 or 2 more small keys. You're going to need the big key. For Swamp, we're good, though you can't clear the left side without, you lose a couple items without the big key. For TR, you need a bunch of keys and a big key. For Mire, we still need a big key. So, yeah, it's not just the normal items, but all the keys as well.
What if GT's open right now?
Well, it'd be nice if we knew that.
I know it's only, I think, like a 15 to 20% chance, but what if it's open?
Meanwhile, Trinexx going back for the single check here of Dark Cross. This is something that Roach was able to do earlier. Don't believe it led to anything, but the way Trinexx routed earlier in the seed, he did not have the small key at this point, whereas Roach did. So with that small key, it looks like Trinexx is heading straight to his routing. He looks like he's heading straight to the left side of Desert Palace with that key open. So that is very good for him. That'll help him get that hook shot and help him see what he needs to see. Roach there showing off that if you hold the wall, you can actually manipulate those mimics without needing to move. It's a good way to keep them away from you if you need to. Looked like that one near the chest was just being pretty trolly. In terms of who's ahead and who's behind, I think Roach is a little bit ahead. He's got 1 extra crystal, and he's also done some extra checks because he had hookshot. However, it's still soon enough that it's not really clear one way or the other. It could definitely go either way depending on the positions of the remaining items. Trinexx has done a few checks that Roach hasn't yet.
Yeah, they both got that extra small key in Desert for Pod, and they haven't used it yet. They're probably waiting to get like 1 or 2 more. But Trinexx hunting the hookshot just now is going to give him a lot more checks to be able to do. He's probably going to go directly up to the mountain. And there's just not much there aside from a couple keys.
Yeah, and I mean that waiting like that makes sense from the runner's perspective, since you know you've already dipped the dip pod once with 1 key and only been able to get about a third of the way. Dipping it again with only 2 keys but no big key again, means you'd probably be dipping another third of the dungeon, and you'd still have to come back for potentially a third trip. So pushing it off makes a lot of sense here. Roach pulling out the blue cane strats there. Very nice, and it is something worth noting, if you're not too familiar with the game, is that Blind takes the same damage from pretty much every weapon that actually damages him. So the blue cane can work really well there because it gets you the invincibility and does the same damage you'd be doing with a normal weapon.
Yeah, Blind takes damage from a lot of different items too, so you can actually kill him with the red cane. That's actually a fun way to kill him, and is actually one of the easier ways. It's a little bit easier than killing him with a hammer or even a fighter sword.
And one thing that Trinexx showed off there, if you were watching very carefully, is how he charged up a spin and then let it go right when he starts slipping. It's called a spin buffer, and it can make your bomb jumps very, very easy, or at least easier, because it puts you, essentially you charge up a spin, start slipping like you're about to fall, then you let go of it right as Link starts to look like he's about slipping, and it puts you automatically on the nearest pixel to the edge, and so it's a good way to get right as close as you can to the edge.
Hour 5 in, we still haven't found a sword upgrade. That is... It's kind of gross. So Roach is going ahead and making a lot of the same plays that Trinexx did when Trinexx did not have hookshot, but Roach did. So they're basically just crisscrossing each other in the world right now. We need to find boots. That is probably our biggest find right now. That and hammer. Those two will open up more than anything else in the game right now. Boots also gives us access to mirror, which both of our racers know where that is. Having access to mirror is big right now. I don't think either of our racers have taken the bomb up to the pyramid yet. They should be able to by hopping in the water with it, letting it swim behind you. A soggy bomb will still blow up. That's true in real life too.
I appreciate the real life advice. Always good to keep our viewers safe. One thing to note here is so Trinexx, going to check what's necessary for Total Rock. This is one of the things that Roach did not do, I believe, while he was up here. And it is Bombos. And we'll see if Trinexx gives us a check of Ganon's Tower afterwards as well. It is worth noting that Trinexx has 2 crystals right now and knows he can complete a third with that fire rod. So if it is 3 crystals, as some people have speculated, that very well might be the play, that he goes, clears that crystal, and immediately comes back. Because Ganon's Tower has a lot of checks, even if you just do the basement. And no Ganon's Tower check from Trinexx, so we are still in the dark. If it ends up being that it's 3 or 4 crystals, we'll have to ask people. We'll probably end up doing some last locationing here. I don't know if both runners made that specific decision or if it's just something that hadn't been thought of, but it could definitely end up hurting one or both runners at this point.
Yeah, they both have access to 3 crystals, and I'll be honest, there's not really a lot of other places that they can really go and check out. Um, they can get into ice. They can't finish it. And then if they don't do Icebreaker, which is a new glitch that was found, relatively simple to pull off, but looks really cool and saves a ton of time. Um, I I would put money on it being a 3 crystal GT right now.
I mean, that, or you have to double dip pod for something else, which may or may not be enough to clear pod, which would also feel kind of miserable and makes a lot of sense why neither of them seems particularly interested in to do that.
I mean, pod to get the desert key, desert to get the pod key, back to pod. It's not fun. Now, Key Sanity, you're expected to do double, triple, or even quadruple dips sometimes, but Purple Chest only has a map of Ice Palace in it.
To answer a question in chat, they've done very similar things. They've done them in different orders, but at this point, they're pretty much tied in terms of what they've actually done.
Look, I'm not being dense, am I? They can absolutely swim with that bomb, right?
I think so. I don't actually think I've ever had it come up in a race I've been part of, to be honest. Typically, the most common way, of course, is having hammer, and then the second most common way is to, if you've already killed Aga 1, and go through Aga. Oh, and Julo Ninja in chat, one of the other top tier runners of this game, points out that you have to jump off a ledge in order to get in to water, so that might actually count as dropping the bomb. Oro pointing out an interesting thing is that it looks like Trinexx may have set up a overworld death so that if he finds nothing here in pod, he can die and then basically pick that purple chest right back up.
You may not see it because it was camouflaged against the blue background of Ice Palace, but Rich just got a sword upgrade. And is not going to do this. Oh, he doesn't have the red cane, so he can ice break. Oh, good. Trinexx got a shield.
Well, that really makes you feel better about doing a double dip. Roach might be doing a play to Castle Tower. Interesting.
Oh, Trinexx is being very sneaky and clever here. He is trying to hammer jump, or hammer yump, as the kids say, over to this big chest. That way he doesn't have to use his small key to unlock the dark maze. And he can use that small key to access either Helma or the Harmless Hallway.
Yeah, and one thing to note there, if you noted, Roach used a bomb to kill that Hinox. Bombs one-shot Hinoxes. It's something that in a vanilla game you often just run around them, but it can be very good in something like Randomizer.
I don't necessarily know how much Trinexx has practiced this jump. Trinexx is... Oh, and there are the boots in Castle Tower.
Oh, that is huge for Roach, because that means Roach can go get the mirror, and looks like he's probably about to do that.
That'll give him. They got the one Swamp Palace small key that you need.
And there we go, Trinexx getting the hammer jump. One thing to note is that it looked like it made it a lot easier that he did it just with one rather than trying to do the 2-bomb setup where you also bomb the wall at the same time. That second one can make it surprisingly difficult and tight on timing.
And Trinexx gets the big key for this dungeon and is immediately going back to use it. And just a big piece of heart there.
So just so chat knows, we have already, and Trinexx did pick up that purple chest, just as Chad had pointed out. Trinexx set up the Death Warp to drag the purple chest along with him. Very smart and very interesting use of the tech. What I was going to say is, just so chat knows, both runners already know that Lumberjack is dead, and they also know that the library is dead. So right now, the boots outside of that mirror are just going to unlock this check we see right here.
Oh, there's another Ice Palace small key. Not really too much else that we can do in there. There are a couple other items to grab. It is a green pendant, but I don't think that's the play to make.
Looks like Trinexx disagrees with you. Gonna go straight to Ice Palace here.
Well, I mean, he hasn't been there yet. Roach has.
Yeah, and it is worth noting, as our excellent tracker Revolving Ocelot is pointing out in chat, you can't actually finish Ice Palace for the green pendant if you don't have hammer, because the boss is hammer locked.
Yeah, you gotta hammer those little. Are they moles? Is that what they are?
I think they're whack-a-moles, like the little game.
Hey, as a member of top tier team, the third strongest mole, like, I do not like that violence, that mole violence that we're having in this game anymore. We have 0 points.
As a member of Team Longshots, who's 3 points ahead of you and taking you on next week, I am strongly in favor of mole-related violence in-game.
Oh, I did not realize that when you signed up to commentate with me. That's awesome. I'm not playing next week. But Roach is going to show us the King's Tomb here. It's just some bombs, so the boots have really only unlocked the mirror. I don't necessarily know if Icebreaker would have been a better play here. Well, no, never mind. He doesn't have a red cane. Never mind.
Yeah, and in fact, without Red Cane and without Hookshot, not doing the Ice Palace bomb jump, this is one of the situations where it does make some sense to just do the dungeon best you can normally. So chat's starting to speculate on where Hammer might be, where the next play might be. it is possible, as Revolving Ocelot points out, for it to be in Swamp. Looks like Roach, with that mirror out, might be about to give us those checks. It is also possible that it could be in somewhere like the Ganon's Tower that neither runner checked, and in Mystery might already be open.
That might be the worst spike trap I've ever seen in the game. But Trinexx does the spin clip, pulls it off very nicely. I guess the big key to Ice Palace, and it's going to make the bomb jump over. Just a map of Turtle Rock in there. Trinexx says, I'll have another key. So what does he do here? And it is Beta Spikes time, and he just hangs out there. Roach is going to actually able to get the item off Ether Tablet here.
Yeah, and then we'll also be able to clear out Hera pretty quickly, which in a normal seed is only a couple items, but here you've got several more checks that might be worth it. And then if he wants, he can, with the Blue Cane and Hookshot and Boots, can probably get away with checking Spike Cave too, right afterwards.
Well, we don't know if we're going to be able to clear out Hera without a Hera pod.
Oh, no hammer.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's the big key. The big key was down in the Pine Tile room. We didn't have a small key to clear that out.
Meanwhile, Trinexx showing us the other half of the dungeon here. Oh boy. Trinexx running out of bombs. And unfortunately, with Blue Mail and the enemy layout there, doing a death warp wasn't particularly an option either. However, it does look like Trinexx is about to do the play into Castle Tower to get his mirror, get his boots, which will help him catch up a little bit here. Roach is still definitely ahead, but it helps a lot. Also, a 5-eyed Moldorm.
Ooh, Tempered Sword. That Eldritch horror of a enemy, like just throw it in the ocean with the rest of the terrible beasts that live there.
Yeah, after going, what is it, an hour, 10 minutes with one sword, all of a sudden we get two in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, and where do we go, George? Where do we go? There's still, we do have that other pod key that Roach hasn't been to the back of pod yet. I mean, you can check the front of Swamp. Yeah, it's not sure where to go.
I mean, you can check the front of Swamp, but you don't get very far without hammer. You get one check, I believe.
Yeah, it's one check, and like it is an available hammer position. I've seen it happen. It's pretty much always a last location.
Yeah, in key sanity, it's actually 2 checks, and regular regular it's just 1, but you also get the key, or the first chest that normally has vanilla small key.
And I've seen the small key for Swamp be in that chest as well. It's key sanity can do some crazy things. That might be where Roach is going. No, where is Roach going? Bombo's tablet. Oh no, he's already done Bombos.
I think Roach might have been thinking Red Bomb before realizing, oh wait, can't get there. Why he went north first. Meanwhile, where is Trinexx going?
Where?
Oh, Mir.
Okay, yeah.
That's definitely something that's got to make you feel bad, having, even though we know that there's no logical way to do it, double dipping desert just for 1 item is always, feels kind of miserable.
Yeah, at least there's mostly like straight lines to dash around in desert, but eh.
Meanwhile, looks like Roach is going to go back to pod, which I think we've already seen a decent bit from Trinexx.
I think Trinexx is going to go ahead and head to the back of Skull Woods. Or not, never mind. He really made a cloud out of me. I don't know if that's the way that phrase goes.
Yeah, Trinexx is, since he's just gotten that mirror, looks like he's going to follow that play to the Graveyard Ledge and then King's Tomb here. Probably Bonk Rocks right after that as well.
So, if I were a Trinexx fan, or a fan of Two Pearl, Two Furious, I don't know if there's anybody who out there who's just a Trinexx fan and not a fan of the team. What you want to see Trinexx do is, you got to make that hair play. That's probably where he's thinking of soon after this. But you want to see him check GT as well. If GT is a 3 crystal GT, then that's your game right there, most likely. even with just 3 GT small keys, that's what, like 6 or 7 chests?
No, so you get the 2 in Hope Room, you get the torch, but then to go beyond that, you need to hammer down the moles again.
Oh gosh.
Beat up the 3rd strongest mole to continue going west, and then on the east side, you'd need Samaria to put the block down.
Like I'm so used to thinking about GT with a hammer in mind that, ugh, this is just weird and gross.
Looks like Roach is making the ice play here. Trinexx is going to do, presumably, Bombo's tablet and then probably Swamp after that for a couple. And so since we're an hour and a half in and chat is asking, basically what we know about the seed thus far is that it's been some weirdly linear from the standpoint that you had to go into pod with 1 key to get your Desert Palace small key, to get your hook shot, to go back and get more pod small keys. The settings for this Mystery League are 5 to kill Ganon, and it's fast Ganon. Nobody has checked GT yet, though they were both up on Dark Death Mountain. We have regular item pool. We have Randomizer, but the bosses are all normal. And we have big keys shuffled in the world and maps and compasses shuffled in the world. This is a match between Roach788 of the Immortals, who are currently have 4 wins in the league, and Trinexx of 2 Pearl 2 Furious, who currently have 5 wins in the league. If the leader of the division, I believe at this point, has 6 wins, so if 2 Pearl 2 Furious wins, they'll be tied for first. If Roach wins, they'll be tied for second. My name is Arusta. My co-commentator is Virtua Cat. Our tracker is Revolving Ocelot. And you're watching here on Speed Gaming 4. Definitely give our runners a follow. Both pretty good guys.
Can't remember if we saw Trinexx get the big key there, or a big chest there, but Roach is dropping down here. Oh, he's just doing it to get around.
We did not see Trinexx check that. Trinexx did the bomb jump across the hole instead, because Trinexx actually came in here with 1 fewer key.
Oh, iced tea room, giving us the flute. That's a big item to get. That gives access to the mire area, and we got 2 Misery Mire small keys. That is all we need to at least beat Misery Mire, and that would be crystal number 4.
Can't beat it without the red cane, but
Oh
you
my
can still get a bunch of checks in there, though. So at this point, with the 3 checks from Checkerboard and with Checkerboard combined with the Mire Shed plus everything in Mire itself, like that is definitely the play at this point.
I am just forgetting that like there are items that I would expect us to have at an hour and a half in, and we don't. Like Red Cane is kind of one that you see as a go mode item pretty often. Hammer, you hardly ever see that. That's a first 20-minute item. You don't see that, like we don't have that an hour and 35 minutes in. But we are essentially Hammer away from go mode at this point.
Yeah, Hammer and Red Cane, and then depending on exactly which crystal they end up doing, well, they could do Swamp Palace. So if you got Hammer and Red Cane, that could get you up to 5 crystals.
And Roach just found another key for Pod. I think that makes Pod clearable.
Yeah, that makes Pod now clearable if you get a Hammer.
You'd be downright amazed at what you can destroy with just a hammer. That's a late 90s, early 2000s synthesizer punk reference for you.
I will take your word for it. That's a reference to something. And Bombos. So Bombos is needed for both Mire and Turtle Rock. It is worth noting that Roach has not checked Turtle Rock at all. However, at this point, given that Hammer opens up Swamp Palace and Palace of Darkness, Turtle Rock is not going to be a dungeon he ends up entering.
I mean, even this is a terrible hallway. Even if you did have the hammer to get into T-Rock, you can't do anything without the Red Cane.
The goal is 5 crystals to kill Ganon, and it's fast Ganon. So essentially, as soon as they get Hammer, as soon as Roach gets Hammer, he can go clear Swamp Palace and Palace of Darkness, get his 5th crystal, 4th and 5th crystals, and then go straight to kill Ganon.
Oh, here's the check. Here's the check. Oh, nope. Oh, 4 crystals to enter. So Roach has access to GT. I would still get your checks here in Misery Mire. Misery Mire has a good bit of keys that are in chests. We're going to at least be able to check a couple of them. We're going to be able to finish Misery Mire at that.
At this point, in order to be able, the only way you could get into your 4th crystal without being in go mode.
Never mind.
Well, never mind.
There's the hammer.
So 136.42, Roach is currently in go mode. Meanwhile, Trinexx has to go back into ice, which looks like he's doing, pick up his flute, activate his flute, and then go through Mire. So I would say at this point, Roach is probably about 5 minutes ahead, something like that. Which it's also worth noting that both Roach and Trinexx have gone through a decent bit of pod already and have enough keys that they can make it through pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty quick pod from Roach. We're going to be seeing Swamp soon after. That'll be a very fast Swamp. And then immediately to Ganon.
Yeah, I think at this point the only question is whether Roach might open a few chests, a few of the very fast chests along the way. For example, the waterfall chest in Swamp, and maybe if you do the diver down, those 2 chests in the diver down room. And to answer a question in chat, thieves are unkillable. That's the only time thieves can be killable if you modify the settings, but the league settings don't change that switch. Typically, for a situation like this, since they don't do damage, it's not that big a deal. Where it really hurts if they're unkillable is if they can also damage you in some of the damage shuffle settings. A very impressive fight there by Roach. Very quick and nice kill of Helma there.
So Trinexx has his flute. Gonna be using that to get down into the mire area. Gonna find his hammer, but at this point, I feel like it would take a fall on Ganon for Roach. Now, nobody has silvers, which are probably in GT, as they usually are now. It's what, 16 hits with a tempered sword? 12?
12 spins. It's 12 spins for the 4th phase. But it's worth noting that silvers, even if Trinexx finds them and Roach doesn't, though that seems unlikely, those are typically considered about a 50, 60-second time save, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's definitely not enough to make up the time difference we're seeing here.
So yeah, Swamp Palace is extremely fast when you're go moding it like Roach is going to be doing here. Especially now that he has a tempered sword, little Argus bubbles, Argai, which I've learned, are going to be killable with only 1 hit after hookshotting it. I've seen a couple players do extremely fast, like 0 cycle Arguses. I think I saw Blaine pull one off in a match pretty recently.
That is a very nice spot for that one little electric spike there. Meanwhile, Trinexx showing off Meyer 2, which is always one of those rooms that in Randomizer, it's never fun even in normal, but in Randomizer it can be just incredibly rude. Alright, so at 1 hour 44 minutes, Trinexx hits go mode. So essentially at this point, Trinexx, just based on the time they hit go mode, is 7 minutes behind, something like that. But also needs to go kill Mothula, so yeah, basically at this point, Trinexx is 3 full dungeons behind.
Didn't he go back into Skull Woods when he had the fire rod? I feel like he went in and I left.
I don't think he did, actually. Meanwhile, Roach about to enter the Ganon fight. Oh, he got the bridge chest, but to chat. Oh, he got the chest in the back of Skull Woods, but didn't go boss. Oof. And then taking a death there.
Well, we got Roach heading up to Ganon. All you Immortals fans and Roach heads in the chat, throw your hands up for your boy Roach.
Roach heads? Is that really what they're called?
Yeah, that's what fans of Roach788 are called. He calls fans as Roach heads.
Nice. I like that. Roach pulling out the cape here, and one thing to note, if you're not too familiar with the glitches that are existent in this version. Oh boy. Clutch use of the pod potion there is that if you have the cape out, anytime you have the cape out and you're not in control of Link, for example, the lag when he's slashing or if you're holding a wall, you don't actually drain magic, so it lasts a lot longer than you'd think.
Yeah, you see it was draining at almost like half magic speeds or even slower. And that's that Japanese 1.0.
Here's another Japanese 1.0 glitch, spamming the lamp there to get torch glitch, which basically means from now on in this fight, as long as he doesn't fall off or die, only the left torch will ever go out. The right torch never.
So you are able to damage Ganon with spins as he starts to teleport, as long as both torches are lit. So this is what we mean by a silverless kill. You'll see that you'll hear the damage sound, and you'll see Roach kind of bounce off of Ganon when he gets a hit in. So you just saw it right there. You'll see Ganon flash just a little bit. It should be 16, or was it 12? Like, I can't remember. We already talked about it.
12. And so the interesting thing here is that the way you do this is essentially you want to stay a little bit away from Ganon, then you sort of close in, sort of make a little C shape with the sword charge, like what you're seeing. Because that gets you close enough to make the hit before he actually teleports away, but without getting hit by the fire bat. And get your GGs in chat, everybody.
And Roach788 is your winner of this mystery seed between Roach788 and Trinexx. The Immortals moves up and ties 2 Pearl 2 Furious with 15 points after this.
And it is worth noting this is the first match between these two teams. They have another match at about 10 o'clock on 10 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock p.m. on Saturday between Scary Olive and Duke Firebird, which the winner of that match, since they both have 15 points, will end up with 18 points and could potentially be tied for first depending on the results of other matches within the league.
And that's going to be a fantastic match. Scary Olive is legit one of the best racers that I know, and I've seen Duke race in a lot of dailies, and Duke is also a very, very strong racer. We'll see how the mystery seed works out for them, and it seems like we are joined here today by Roach. Roach, how are you?
Heart is pumping a little bit.
Don't really go an hour and a half without getting a hammer pretty often, but we did this seed. Any thoughts on the seed just in general?
Quite a few nice graphical glitches, like you just saw on Argus and Trinexx there for Adlo, or the invisible Lionel and Desert Palace.
Yeah, definitely saw that one. We had a lot of fun with the Randomizer today. A lot of enemies showing up in places that you normally wouldn't expect them. That made it even a little bit more interesting and more fun. I know that mini Moldorm cave, we actually saw Trinexx go in there with, I think, half a heart, and he walked immediately into one of the little invisible dudes and died on that. But
I know the back of Eastern Palace was pretty nasty. I am so glad I decided to do that later.
hey, I've always said, like, gain and burn, a top tier item in Randomizer, and we saw both of our racers make some good use out of that. Did you ever think about going up to GT? I mean, you didn't have a hammer, you did have a red cane, so you only had a couple checks. But we didn't even see either of you all check GT until probably about an hour and 15 in, hour and 20 in.
When I was up on Death Mountain doing the dark side, like Hookshot Cave Super Bunny, I was thinking about going to go check it. I'm like, it's a 3 minimum. I only have 2 crystals right now. I can't really afford to the extra time, just in my mind. So I just went like, all right, if it's there, it's just a gamble. But yet when I came down to where I cleared Skull Woods, had 3 crystals in hand, my choices are to redip Ice Palace for a second time because I abandoned it after that sword, or redip Pod for the 3rd time. I'm like, crap, maybe it is GT.
GT was a 4 crystal entry, so there was the off chance that something might be in there, but without a red cane and without a hammer, we only had a couple checks we could really make. But you found that hammer pretty quick there in Misery Mire.
Yeah, I see Trinexx actually has the red cane. Where did he pick that up?
I was watching you kill Ganon when he picked it up, so I assumed that it was. I assumed that it was in Misery Mire, which is where he was right before that.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, this is a nice redemption over my 2 losses, one being by about 30 seconds, the other one. So I'm just glad I actually get a win on the board for my team.
Well, I mean, that puts you up to 15 points. That ties you with 2 Pearl, 2 Furious with 15. And you got Scary Olive and Duke playing later tonight. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Both of those are very, very great racers. And mystery seeds can be anything. We saw this be an item hunt, basically. We saw an execution battle last night with a 4 crystal GT, or a 4 crystal fast cannon. We saw 7 crystal all dungeons, which are not fun.
And I correct you, the Duke Scary Olive match is tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. My apologies to both of those racers.
Yeah, I mean, the whole time I've ever done an Randomizer with vanilla bosses kind of threw me off a little bit. I mean, it's like, my mind just kind of blanked when I went into the Thieves Town boss room. I'm like, what? Where's the boss?
I was expecting Landmo to show up there. Like he just wasn't on the screen at that point.
There was no audio playing that he was in the ground or anything. It was just
Yeah, this was a very fun match to watch. I know that I kept forgetting that Hammer and Red Cane, nobody had it. So I was like, oh yeah, they can finish Meyer now. They can finish. They can go into GT and get like a bunch of checks, and we just don't see a lot of late Hammer being done in these races, and that's part of what Key Sanity does. That's part of what a Mystery Seed does.
Yeah. Go mode Hammer, never fun. My question is, what is Trinexx doing? Why is he not just going to Skullwoods and finishing it?
He had already gone pretty far into Meyer, so I think he has the big key for Meyer.
I mean, but he's 4 crystals, it's 5 crystal fast cannon, just hop in there, kill them off, go to... Oh, he doesn't have a small key. Wait, did he use the one under the pot then? Anyway.
Yeah, he did the front of Skullwoods pretty quickly, and I feel like he should have that key, but I think he used it to check the items in the front.
That's one thing I was being cautious of, if you noticed in pod, where it's like I made sure I had that one key left for the boss, and I abandoned the other key checks in there because of one. I could have save scummed it, but didn't want to waste the time.
Yeah, Key Sanity's like you really have to make a lot of other decisions that you normally wouldn't see. Like when to use keys, where to use keys, because you don't know when you're going to get your next key for a dungeon. Like if somebody's wanting to play Key Sanity for the first time, what kind of advice would you offer them?
Learn how many keys are minimally needed to finish a dungeon, and learn Hammer Yump.
Yeah, Hammer Yump is pretty key, no pun intended. And if you happen to have a Red Cane, learn Icebreaker when you go into ice. And the amount of time that would Trinexx showing us a fun little glitch there. But yeah, if you guys had Red Cane, Icebreaker would have just been killer for you guys.
Yeah, it's one of those tricks I've learned, but I'm not good at. Like the initial setup of placing the block, not a problem. It's that single frame tab, even with pause buffering, it's like very rarely actually nail it. But I do know how to do it. It's just not one of those things I'm going to do unless I feel really behind. Yeah, it's like the amount of glitches that they just allowed recently is just, you feel like you have to learn so much more now just to actually be almost competitive. Or you can just let Rando be Rando and be in your favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things where it seems like you have to learn a lot of glitches, but for those of you who are newer runners or completely new to Rando, don't feel like you have to learn them right away. It's definitely one of those things, if you want to be at the top tier, like the runners you've seen today, they learn all the glitches, but if you just want to learn Rando and even learn it casually, a lot of the glitches, it's saving a minute here, 50 seconds here, 30 seconds there, and it's, you can make up for it with good routing, good execution. It should be kind of far down on your list after learning how to handle low percent bosses and really improve your overall execution.
Yeah, there's a couple of fun ones to pull off, like fake flippering is pretty easy, and you can just learn that with like a minute or two of practice.
And there's also the bomb setup for the fake flipper, which is extremely consistent.
Yeah. Next week for Cross Keys, the Immortals are facing Yutang Clan. Do we you want to give any ideas on who you're pitting up for Cross Keys?
I'm sitting that week out. That's the one week I just did not want to do. So I'm just letting Duke and Lon Ninja handle the matchups for that and let them to figure.
You and I have the same idea on Cross Keys.
No, I don't want to live through the embarrassment of last league. I had a good hour lead on my opponent. Yes, hour lead. I searched the entire world, double, triple checked everything. Even like went to Dig Game twice. Never actually finished Dig Game, which had the big key to Thieves Town for completing the game. So after spending over an hour searching, I just finally gave up. It was like on the 29th dig, and I only did like 28 because the second time I was doing it, I'm like, I know I've done this. I had to have done this. But I don't want to go through that again.
The week after that is the open key sanity with the pilot, and you're taking on third strongest mole. And you know what? I think we have your all's number on that week. We're going to get our first points on the board either next week or that week. But I will. I'm going to call you guys out.
Well, just call back at you. Have you guys done much practice with it?
Oh, of course not.
Okay, because I'm our pilot, and I've done a lot of practice with them on this.
Cool.
As soon as they announced it as a possibility when the league was still getting together, we were already practicing.
Well, we will see how that goes. I'm pretty sure how that's going to go. But
hey, rando can still rando, or just execution on the actual runners.
Yeah, we'll probably be practicing it pretty soon. I know that I'm on PTO for this week and next week, so I actually have a little bit more time to actually put in practice. So I'll be helping out instead of just saying like, "Oh yeah, I'll race this week, sure, whatever." Trinexx is on his way over to Ganon at this point. He is climbing the pyramid at 201 in.
I appreciate you guys, calming for us, the restreamer tracker, whoever was doing that. It's always appreciative. I always like to go back and rewatch these races.
Yeah, these are really fun, and for anybody who's new out there, I really recommend like trying some of the daily races, and not being afraid to put yourself on stream. Even then, if you're going to be streaming, save your local and play it against some of the players who are on stream to see what you did and what they didn't when you're play those side by side. That's how I learned some of the stuff that I've learned. Not that I'm good, but it's a good way to see what you're doing that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, and I just jump in here and say that the Link to the Past randomizer community is also very, very helpful to newbies, very, very welcoming. Like, it is definitely not a community where, if you finish last in a race, nobody's going to care, nobody's going to be mad at you, nobody's going to, mock you, none of that. Like, I finished last in a race just last night, and, I even chatted with my opponent afterwards, like, he showed me some tips, like, so, everybody's just really cool in this community.
Yeah, that's like my first race, I think was like 5.5 hours that I finished. And I was just playing through the game vanilla once and just going at a rando after that.
Yeah, this is Trinexx. Oh. I mean, the community's great. This is probably one of the easier randomizers to really get a feel for. There are a lot of great trackers out there in terms of the actual tools. There are a lot of great trackers who are people as well. Shout out to Revolving Ocelot, our tracker for this seed. But like there are people who will help you out. There are people who, even last night in my race against Weighty Words, before the race started, I was just talking to him like, "Hey, how do you do this?" And he told me, like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Here's how you pull off Icebreaker."
Oh yeah, there's definitely some of the community who will, go out of their way to help and show you, or they're just having fun, just practicing a seed without being a But what you were saying about the daily races for like newer players and all, if you do get on restream, I say don't feel bad if you do bad on it, but go back and rewatch it, listen to the commentators, and watch your other racers so you can learn from that.
Definitely, and one other thing you can do there, even if you're not picked for the restream, is you can open up two VODs in like different windows and just sort of pause and sync them up, either through the entire seed Or even another way to do it is just like, when you go in specific dungeons. Sure, maybe, Trinexx is fighting Ganon 15 minutes later than Roach did, but you can then still compare, okay, who fought Ganon better? What did you do that the other runner didn't? Or what did he do that you didn't?
Oh, yeah, it's like it's possible to get triple hits on Ganon in the last phase, which I do not know how to do with any consistency at all. Yet when I see certain people, it blows my mind.
Yeah, and a lot of like the really cool tricks and rooms that you can pull off. Those are really simple things to do. I remember the first time I watched one of these races, and the first like that triple whiz robe room at the top of GT, seeing somebody just kill all three of them with the Samaria block, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like high level, like amazing. And yeah, you just drop a block just slightly to the right, and you hit the button, and it kills them.
It is so satisfying every time you do it.
It's not as satisfying as the double Stalfos Knight room in Ice. That is always my favorite room in the game, because you just feel like the coolest person in the world when you pull that off.
Meanwhile, get your GGs in chat. Trinexx finishing up with an official time of, as long as he doesn't fall down the bridge, of 2:05:35.
I did not realize that the end on the screen is replaced by thief heads and bodies. So yeah, big GG to Trinexx. Trinexx will be joining us here just shortly.
So I'm just waiting for one of the race teams. I don't know if this happened yet. I hope it does. Cross keys, inverted, Randomizer, swordless, expert.
That is one of those like low percentage type things, but I mean we've seen some absolutely terrible seeds this week already, and we're joined by Trinexx. Trinexx, GG.
How's it going, GG? Good game, Roach. That was a fun one.
Yeah, that hammer.
The hammer would have been so much nicer if I didn't screw up Ice Palace twice by locking myself on hookshot side and then on bombable floor in second round. I ran out of bombs. I couldn't get out, so I just bailed and took my Master Sword to do progression that way.
As soon as I got the Master Sword, I went to the next room. I'm like, I'm at half a heart. Screw this.
No, but I went in further and then kept screwing it up multiple times. So that was a huge time sink in that regard.
You just had a couple like just really unfortunate moments that you couldn't really account for. So like yeah, the bombable floor in Ice Palace, Mini Moldorm Cave at the beginning of the race.
Oh, that was dumb, but
like you walk in and you're like, okay, where are these enemies? And then one spawns immediately on top of you.
Yeah, that one wasn't too costed, but just like it's the death by 1,000 paper cuts that seed was of having to enter the dark world, do the long way around a couple times over. And it's just a matter of choosing the right places to minimize that. And I definitely did not do that.
Yeah, throughout most of the seed, you all only had two places that you could enter the dark world from, and it was that bottom right side of Death Mountain or the Kakariko.
Yeah, early on.
The only two places.
Early on, first time through Dark World, I managed to fake flipper over to the pyramid just to see the goal, and it's like, oh, 5 crystals, and it's like, oh man, I just need a hammer. I'm basically done.
Did this game.
The other major mistake ended up being key management in Skullwoods. I ended up spending both of mine, and I got locked out the back. So that was one crystal I couldn't find until I got another key, and it never turned up. So I had to take the cane I got in Swamp Palace to finish off Meyer.
So did you like? So I did have a question about Skullwood. So you took an intentional death there. Did you think you were going to respond like just right there at the
Yeah,
entrance?
I basically just how I usually end up going through the front door, and then I completely forgot I fell down. So I was just trying to take. I was
Okay.
trying to get the refill, and then it's like, oh, this is the wrong place. And as opposed to just bailing out and leaving, I decided to burn the second key. It was early on in the seed. You figure you might get another one, but I just completely forgot about it, and it never turned up.
Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of other checks at that point. Like, it's reasonable. Think like, oh yeah, just a spawn key, I'll find one. And there's probably like room before World War II or something.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't check GT access until much later, because I figured it wouldn't have to go in once I got hammer. But
I never even checked it.
it was 4 crystals, and I think 4 is the minimum it could have been. And by the time I was up there the first time, I only had 2. So
It was like the minimum is 3,
okay,
which we were really discussing that like pretty early on in the seed. Yeah, you couldn't have really gotten a lot of items at that point, but it is something that, hey, something could have been there.
but yeah, otherwise ended up being like what 1 hour 40 minutes go mode for hammer for a 5 crystal fast cannon. That's always a amazing feeling there.
It's just, oh my, and the loop of you had to go into Ice Palace that first chest to get your sword, to go get your boots, to get the mirror, which led to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like mirror just gave you guys like swamp access, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Went in the front of the swamp, got the 2 chests. I was kind of hoping to be there, but
Did the exact same play.
Yeah, and then the other loop that you guys did was going into pod with just 1 key to pick up that 1 key in desert, and then that 1 key in desert led to your hook shot, which then led to pretty much every other pod small key available.
yeah, I think that was the better chain of that one. Basically led to nowhere whatsoever.
I was hoping that since I did that early fake flipper over there to the pyramid as well and did that play, I was hoping that would give me a massive advantage in the seed, but apparently you did the same. So,
well, I actually immediately screwed up the fake flipper. I was doing the Ancilla stuff, and I jumped on the island. I couldn't get off, so I had to like shoot all the way across the screen, hoping that the 3rd arrow would stay in the wall by the time I did it again.
Did you mean to jump onto the 2nd island?
No, I was just kind of not paying attention that much, and I was thinking that was attached to the main part of the ice island there. And then I realized I was stuck. Like crap.
Well, you're able to jump from the actual Ice Palace Island to that little the jetty dock.
Yeah, that's a thing I remember seeing before. I think it was actually accidentally in logic once for some cross keys or entrance stuff, but I think that's either been fixed or.
It was interesting to watch, and I really appreciate you pulling off some like pretty cool tech there at the end and answering higher and.
I think the most happy thing I managed to do was try to do the purple chest world warp there.
Yeah, that was really rad.
Like, it's the dumbest thing, but the first time through I tried to do it, then I realized that Kiki deleted it, so I didn't bother to go back. And then second time through, hit pod first, found nothing, and then came back to grab it.
Well, you did show us some of our newer tech that is newly available to use in Link to the Past randomizer races in Diver Down, so I appreciate you showing that.
Yeah, as long as something interesting happened on screen versus me being behind by 15 minutes, I'm happy with how that went. Just here to have fun, not really trying that hard, just enjoying. So at least my teammates are carrying me. So
exactly, I'm 1 and 2 now, so I can't really say much.
Well, hey, I want to thank both of you guys for a great race. It was a lot of fun to commentate. I want to thank Arusta for being my co-com this race. Definitely want to thank Revolving Ocelot for tracking this for us. That is probably the hardest job out of any of the 5 of us. And then everybody here in chat, I want to say thank you guys for watching. Say thank you to everybody else who is helping to put this on, our restreamer. A lot of fun, guys. I really appreciate it. Guys, have any last words for us?
Nope. I just wanted to say good game to Roach again. That was a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it wasn't cross keys or anything stupid like that.
All right. Well, thank you both for running. For those of you who are still looking for some more rando action, there are a couple streams going on right now on the ALTTPR League 2. There's a match going on right now, and then there are some more matches. There's another match tonight starting at 9:10 p.m., so about 45 minutes from now. And then there's a bunch tomorrow afternoon starting at 1:10 p.m., going all the way to late tomorrow night. So please check ALTTPRleague.com. It's got all the schedule. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
You all have a great night now.